Tuesday's bombings of commuter trains in Mumbai, India, have raised security in mass transit systems around the world. The 8 bombs tore apart the crowded trains during the evening commute, killing at least 147 people and wounding hundreds more. So far, no one has claimed responsibility for the attacks, but India has been the target of simultaneous bombings before at the hands of Kashmiri militants. Stephen Cohen is a senior fellow in foreign policy studies at the Brookings Institution. He's also the author of several books, including India, Emerging Power. Dr. Cohen joins us this morning from our Washington Bureau with some insight. Good morning, Dr. Cohen.
Good morning, Jeff.
As I just mentioned, India has been targeted in the past, but any indication of why now?
There's no particular reason for this timing at all. It could coincide with the anniversary of the Madrid bombing, for example, but that's just speculative. I would correct you in one sense. Some of the bombings that have taken place in India, especially in Mumbai, and this is the 7th such bombing in Mumbai, Bombay, same place. Really, it's the 7th such bombing, and not all of them, if any of them, were connected to Kashmir. Actually, at the same day, yesterday, that these bombings took place in Bombay, there were separate grenade attacks in Kashmir itself directed against tourists, both Indian and foreign tourists. And it's not clear yet whether these attacks in Kashmir and the attacks in Bombay were linked in any way.
But you don't think this has any connection to the London bombings last year, the Madrid attacks 2 years ago? It seems somewhat similar.
I think it does in the sense this could be a copycat bombing, or it could be that an al-Qaeda-like operation conceived of all 3 of them. India is on the same list as the Brits are, as we are, sort of the of the radical Islamist groups, and this does present real problems for India, for Pakistan, and for the United States.
Well, speaking of Pakistan, they insist they had nothing to do with this. What's your take on that?
Well, they have to demonstrate, I think, beyond a shadow of doubt that they did have nothing to do with this. A lot of the terrorist groups operating in India, in fact, were either trained by the Pakistanis or based themselves in Pakistan with or without the Pakistani permission. We have no evidence about this particular group that carried out this operation, but if the Indians establish a link back to Pakistan, there could be another major crisis, even another war between India and Pakistan.
So we could see this escalate. There's been so much turmoil in the past between these two countries. What happens next?
I think the Indians are going to try and use, obviously, forensic evidence to see where these things came from, who did them, what the origin of the explosives are, and then make a decision after that. One of the changing factors in this case, rather than the crisis in 2002, which almost led to war, is that the government in India is much weaker than it was then. The Manmohan Singh government is under great attack from the left and from some of its supporters, both for being too pro-American and also for being too much in liberalizing the economy too fast. So it may have to demonstrate that it's a strong government, which could make a crisis come that much faster.
Is all this bitterness rooted in Kashmir?
I'm sorry?
Is all this bitterness rooted in Kashmir?
No, I think that that's part of it, but it's not the whole picture at all. Generally, the Indian Muslims outside of Kashmir are relatively satisfied. I doubt very much whether this is an Indian Muslim attack. Kashmiri Muslims themselves are simply exhausted and worn out by almost 15 years of warfare. And many Kashmiri groups are looking for ways of reaching a settlement with India and Pakistan. This could be a spoiler group. This could be a group that's unwilling to accommodate the peace process that's going on between India and Pakistan. Or it could be a rogue group of some sort under nobody's control. We really don't have those answers yet. I think the Indians will turn them up pretty soon.
Now that if we bring the U.S. into the picture, how does that affect the U.S.'s relationship with India and Pakistan in wake of these attacks?
Well, there are really two or three different ways. First of all, this is going to damage, at least to some degree, India's reputation as the shining India, the India where you want to invest your money, India that's growing economically. Bombay is both the cultural, or at least the film capital of India, but it's also the financial and commercial capital of India. This could give some American companies pause in investing in India. I don't think that's likely to have a long-term impact, but it certainly is a factor. It's probably one of the intentions behind the bombings, to deter foreign investment from going into India. Secondly, the U.S. government has a good relationship with both India and Pakistan. Here we find two friends of ours apparently on the edge, or could be on the edge, and if this crisis escalates, of another war. In the past, the 3 or 4 previous crises, we've intervened and tried to cool the situation down. I think this is another role the Bush administration will have to have, but they've yet to address the underlying causes of India-Pakistan conflict. We've encouraged the peace process or the dialogue between New Delhi and Islamabad, but that may not be enough to avert another crisis. Again, though, if this is a separate group and has nothing to do with the Pakistanis at all, then there should be India-Pakistan cooperation in eliminating these kinds of groups in South Asia.
Right. Following the attacks, the U.S. immediately beefed up security on trains and subways here. A lot of politicians came out on Tuesday saying we need to do more. Is that necessary, and is there something that can actually be done in the U.S. to protect the subways and the trains against an attack like this?
One of the features of modern life is that we're vulnerable in many ways, and if we cover up the subways, if we protect the subways the way we protected air travel, they'll find another way to hit us, and it's really hard to cover all the bases. But I think that, as in Washington and New York in particular, the two most high-profile subway systems in the country, although I would put Chicago right up there as well, I think it is important to have as secure a subway system as possible. And of course, there's a lot of complaints recently about shifting some homeland security money away from these cities towards other cities.
All right. Stephen Cohen, Senior Fellow in Foreign Policy Studies at the Brookings Institution. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. Bye-bye.